AI evals and how to make money from them. This is a conceptual video that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I believe this might be the next frontier when it comes to marketing, signals, and understanding intent. This is very half-baked, but it mixes things that I've been curious about lately, which is first of all AI evals and how to evaluate the performance of your LLM in context. I did a lot of videos about this lately in the last 3 months or so you can check them out if you're not up to date regarding what are AI evals. And on the other hand, it's being data-driven and understanding signals and intent. So let me give like a primer. So first of all, today in Meta and Google and any other ads platform, optimization is based on pixel firing. Let me do like this. Optimization is based on pixel firing. Whenever there is a purchase, or someone clicks an add to cart, or someone fills a lead form, we are sending via the pixel or via the server, we are sending the event details to the ads platform, and the ads platform knows that this is a positive event. Some people also send negative events, but never mind. This is a positive event, and based on this data, the ads platform is trying to serve or find more of these positive events. So if we have many buyers, we send a lot of buying signal to Meta. Meta later on will be able to find us better customers and better prospects because it already has a lot of data about the people that buy from us. Now, in the last few years, due to privacy constraints and limitations, many people started also emphasizing collecting first-party data, which is basically quizzes, asking customers many questions, and based on the quiz, based on the response, trying to segment the customers. And some people, the smarter marketers, what they did, they took the responses from the quiz and fed it back to the platform. But it's very important to understand that at the end of the day, the most important event that everyone compared, at least in the direct response game and in operations that the sales cycle is very short, we always optimize for the purchase. Now, when you don't have a lot of purchase events, what marketers used to do is they used to optimize. Some of them used to optimize for an event which was higher in the funnel. So if you don't have significant amounts of purchases, what you do, you start optimizing for add to carts. And this is debatable whether it works or not. Many people don't believe in this, but it does make somewhat a sense to say that if you don't have a lot of buyers, at least optimize for add to cart to people who are adding to cart. Now, as I said, there are many nuances when it comes to this. Many people believe that this comes from a different pocket of people, and the customers who are served to you as people that were supposed to add to cart or very likely to add to cart, but they probably won't buy. This is one of the issues when trying to optimize with not a lot of events. Now, this whole thing of sending events to the ads platform is very tied to clicks. It's very easy to measure when someone clicks the add to cart. Now, this is relevant to the website that we have today, which contain like the traditional UX UI. You have the buttons, and when a customer adds a product to the cart and then goes to the checkout, he basically signals intent. Now, the problem or the challenge or the interesting part arises these days when the hypothesis, at least my hypothesis, and I believe that a lot of people also share this hypothesis, that we are going to move away from the UX UI, the traditional UX UI, to having more of a chatbot interface, ChatGPT and Claude Anthropic, etc. Now, when the whole interface, the whole buying journey is within the chat, how can you measure intent? How do you know if a customer is interested in buying? So on one hand, you can say, so we don't have very accurate means of assessing the intent because we don't have the buttons which are very definitive. But on the other hand, we do collect a lot of data because the whole conversation can be a good representation of the intent of the customer. Now, this is interesting in my opinion. So let's assume that a customer starts asking many, many questions regarding the product. So at a certain point, if we see a large, like a significant correlation between a certain amount of questions to the probability of a customer buying, we might start sending events to the ad platform saying if a customer asked more than 10 questions in a row, we want this to be counted as an add to cart. So a traditional add to cart was clicking. Now an add to cart event doesn't exist. So the equivalent is asking more than 10 questions, for example. So in order to think this through, what I did, and this is something that I do very often lately, I opened a conversation with Claude, and I asked it to mimic a conversation between Elon Musk, David Deutsch, which is a famous physicist and philosopher, David Deutsch, and Naval Ravikant, which is a very famous angel investor and a philosopher, I guess. And I really like the way that these three look at things in the real life. So what I usually do whenever I have a dilemma, I ask Claude to mimic a conversation between them, and I read the whole conversation in order to see how they tackle the dilemma. So this is what I have here. The setting is a quiet evening, three thinkers sharing whiskey after a small dinner. The topic drifts to future of commerce and measurement. And as you can see, Naveen is Naval, Marcus is Elon, and Daniel is David. So Naveen is basically saying, here's what's bothering me. The entire advertising infrastructure is built on clicks, but clicks are a relic of the mouse era. When the interface is a conversation, what's the click? Marcus Elon then says, the click was always a proxy anyway, a bad one. Someone clicking add to cart tells you almost nothing about their actual intent. They might be comparing prices, they might be drunk. The signal to noise ratio is terrible. Then David or Daniel said, you're both circling something important. The click wasn't measuring intent, it was measuring action. But action without understanding is just behaviorism. We've built $1 trillion industry on Skinner box. So what's the equivalent of conversation? Then Elon says, let's work from first principles. What does a buyer actually do when they are serious? They ask specific questions, they come back, they handle their own objections out loud. They future pace. If I bought this, would it work with blah, blah, blah. Then they started proposing measuring frequency, which is very straightforward, like session counts, time gaps, initiated by user, initiated by the system. But this is kind of like similar to what we used to have. And then it kept on going, maybe starting to measure greetings. So David said, greetings matter. And Elon said, greetings, hello and good morning. And David said, not the greeting itself, the pattern of greeting. Someone who starts every session with a greeting is treating AI as a relationship. Someone who just barks commands is treating as a tool. Relationships buy, tools gets comparison shopped. So basically said, let's start measuring pleasantries and greetings, which also makes sense. What about negative signals? So An example would be premature certainty. If someone says, just tell me the price in the first message, they are not buying, they are just anchoring. They want a number to compare. Or they already decided and just need the final number. No, and this is the key, David said, a decided buyer doesn't ask for the price. They ask about the price. So not the price, but ask about the price. So, and this was very smart, I liked it. Is there a discount if I buy two? So they don't ask what is the price, they ask if they can get a discount. Or do you offer payment plans? So the preposition matters. Tell me the price is extraction, while tell me about the pricing is exploration. And this is where I'm heading to. I'm trying to tell you that I believe that in these nuances, we can get a lot of signals and gain a competitive advantage over people who probably won't be measuring this in the next many years. So then they decided about a few tiers. So first of all, a present signal. So measuring return frequency, session duration, greeting pattern, sign-off pattern, etc. This measures commitment to the interaction itself. The second tier is content signal. So question specificity, comparison mentions, objection surfacing, third-party mentions, future pacing. These measure the depth of the consideration. And the third tier is the epistemic signal. So error correction, model updating, knowledge synthesis. So you're saying that this is, or etc. Stuff like this. So let me give you some examples. I don't wanna read the whole thing to you. Okay, so content signals. So David said, imagine someone walks into a car dealership. Here's the low signal version. How much is the car? Here's the high signal version. I've got two kids in car seats. Will they fit in the back? And we drive to mountains every winter. How's the all-wheel drive in snow? So the second person is placing the product into their life, and they're not asking about the car. They're asking about their life with the car. So this is a key insight. So this is a low intent question, while this is a high intent question. Another example. So question specificity. Low signal, is this product good? High signal, I'm a graphic designer working on large file. Will 16 GB RAM be enough, or should I wait for the 32 version? Specific question require effort, and the person who had already done the mental work maps the situation, and this shows us that he invested and he is more interested. So this is another signal of intent. Another example, what do you offer? Or in opposing to, I've been looking at competitor X and Y, what's different about your approach? So as you can see, these are many different ways that if we analyze using an LLM as a judge, or basically having an eval, if we analyze the conversation with the customer, we can start gathering whether the customer has a high intent or a low intent, and the nuances do really matter. So let's say we saw a customer that asks this question in opposing to this question, we can fire an event back to Meta and say add to cart. We can consider this as add to cart or initiate checkout, assuming that we don't want to create custom events and rename them. Another thing to keep in mind is objection surfacing, so we can also analyze this. So there are many nuances. Now, when it comes to creating the events, we can decide that we score the conversation based on events, based on thresholds. So let's say we score the conversation and we accumulate points. So specific question plus 2. Future pacing. For example, how will I be able to fuel the car if I'm not at home and I don't have electricity on the road? So you see that the customer is already placing himself in the new car. So this is future pacing, so we can add 4 points. And as eventually at more than 10 points, we fire an event of initiate checkout, for example. And yeah, I guess this is, as I said, it's very theoretical at the moment, but I think there is a lot of potential here as we are moving towards the UX UI of chat interfaces. I'm probably going to upload a few more videos about this if you guys find it interesting, and I'm for sure going to make progress with this because I think it's very important. And I already started working with a few clients that have the chat interface, and we already discussed how we can measure the intent of the customers, and I think this is the future. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it insightful. Leave your comments below with your questions or advice. Obviously, if you haven't subscribed, please do. And until next time, keep on automating.